SMT Nation, we are back. Nation, this article from Dan Jones, it's a pretty good one. AT&T and Verizon tipped to roll out 5G SA for real this time in 2025. I want to discuss this article, and actually it's more so about the concept of the article. I'm not really, going to be critical of the writer or what they have to say on this. I think this is more a perception thing. So the direction I'm going with this video is pretty simple. We know the move in networking is all things 5G moving forward. It's not a thing of if it's going to happen. It's just when. It's just timing, right? All the bandwidth that's on LTE is eventually going to be refarmed and moved over to 5G. And all of the new spectrum that's, auctioned and sold to carriers, it's all going 5G, right? So we know this. T-Mobile's done a nice job of moving away from LTE. Their goals and ambitions, everything 5G related, they've really pushed the envelope. They've continued to move bandwidth from LTE to 5G over the last several years. For what it's worth, AT&T and Verizon will be doing the same. They're just doing it at a different pace on a different timeline because they have different types of customers. You want to force the issue, you want to be able to move forward, but you have to do things strategically. So let's take a look at AT&T and Verizon with respect to their mobile data by volume on their LTE bands. One of the most important bands to the entire country is band 2. This is a mid-band frequency, really important for all companies, AT&T, Verizon, and T-Mobile. Specifically when it comes to AT&T, there was a time, I'm not sure if the percentage is still the same, I'm sure it's a little bit lower, but just recently, and this data is from Tutela, I've looked at their data for years, great resource, 42% of their volume on their LTE data network was carried on band 2, the 1900 megahertz, to show you how important these LTE bands are. They carry massive amounts of traffic. Now, like I said, I don't think it's 42.4 anymore. It's probably much lower, but it's still going to be a high number because folks are still on LTE networks. There are devices out there in the AT&T base, consumer base, that are LTE only. And there are, phones that are NSA 5G, which means they're 5G connections, but they're still on the LTE core, and they utilize LTE band frequency connections with 5G frequencies. So you can't just shut this down. You can't just move on from it. You can't just put everything to SA unless you have those customers transitioned and ready with hardware, their handsets, 5G SA enabled, right? Standalone 5G connections means all the bands that the phones are connected to are 5G. There's more to this. You need the low bands moved over to 5G too. So that's the 850, right? Those low bands like band 5 and 700. Some of the like 700, the band 12, that's not moving to 5G for years. All right. There's just too much traffic and devices that are LTE only that need connection there. And look at these other bands, right? You've got the 2300, which is band 30. That one, I don't know how long it's going to stay LTE, but I don't know of any planned move for AT&T to put that to 5G yet. You have the AWS, which they've moved some of that to 5G in some markets, and sometimes it's even site dependent. So you'll see N66 or you'll see band 66. That carries a lot of traffic too. So it's not so simple, and it's not even really all that important. In my estimation, I think AT&T's done a pretty nice job with their LTE network. So being connected to AT&T LTE is not a bad thing. All right, now let's take a look at Verizon. Remember, AT&T and Verizon are the ones perceived to be lagging in standalone 5G. All right, so here's mobile data volume by LTE band on the Verizon network. You see some of the same characteristics, right? 14% for Verizon on band 2, the 1900. You see AWS being a bulk majority, right, of their traffic, as well as low band with 700. So band 66, band 13, those are the bands that are on all the tower sites. It's not really a surprise, right? Now they've got new frequencies, right? They've got N77, same thing with AT&T. We're starting to see a lot of traffic moving that direction. There are SA connections for both Verizon and AT&T through N77, right, with C-band. And that's starting to carry a lot of traffic too. So the transition is happening, but as the same situation for Verizon is what we saw with AT&T. There are devices on the Verizon network that are LTE only, There's contracts, there's alarm systems, you've got point of sales. These folks have these devices that they're not upgrading anytime soon. They're going to have to continue to operate in LTE band, right? Or multiple bands. In my estimation, I think the 700 for Verizon, the band 13, that's going to stay LTE for a long time. Don't hold your breath waiting for that to move to NR. It's not even really important to NR, right? And to be honest with you guys, both Verizon and AT&T are perceived to have the most reliable networks of the big three, right? It's about having an available network. It's about having a reliable network. And that is a combination of LTE and 5G collectively. It's not, that you could say 5G is more reliable. That's definitely not the case. The most reliable network is the most available one that's always working. So it's a good article here. It's got all the thing here. Here's the, T-Mobile one and all of that stuff. It's maybe worth a look. I'll link it for you guys. But to kind of go back to this article, moving to SA 5G without LTE connections, it's the future. It's the move. We get it. It's going to happen. The transition has already begun. Making articles about SA 5G, it's cool. It's something to write or whatever. But in my estimation, and this is just me using the networks, I've seen SA connections be less reliable. I've seen SA connections that have less bandwidth compared to the NSA counterparts. So I don't worry about things like SA or NSA. It doesn't factor into my decision making, what type of service I'm buying from Verizon, AT&T, or T-Mobile. You're looking for the available network, the reliable network, got enough speed for you to do what you need, whether it's downloading apps or uploading videos or, FaceTiming your family members and friends. I just don't understand the push so blatantly as a race to have complete SA 5G coverage. It's obviously it's going to happen. I continue to make sure I harp on this, but it's not indicative of a quality network to have SA 5G more so than your competitors. I just don't really see it that way. Now, there are certain things that SA 5G can do that NSA can't do. And you can make an argument that moving towards those features and capabilities require an SA national rollout. That I will give you. But just from an operational standpoint, just from a consumer usage standpoint, the accelerated move to SA 5G, it's not really about the consumer. It's more so about the efficiency for the carriers. See what I'm saying? So I'm not sure how you view it. Love to hear what you guys have to say on it. Drop me a line of comments down below. I'll be excited to read them. The voice of the people, the SMT Nation. Let your voice be heard. Like and share our videos. Subscribe if you're new here. And turn on the bell notifications icon to never miss an upload. We'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.